Welcome to the Celebration of You. I'm your host, Holly Dowling. I'm thrilled to share with you incredible people from all over the world who are living and leading extraordinary lives. From overcoming immense adversity to discovering the secret sauce to leading with courage and grace. Their stories are going to bring you hope and inspiration. Now let the stories begin. What a glorious day to know that I am with one of the most exquisite, beautiful, brilliant women that I've had the joy of meeting, who comes from halfway across the world today. And I'm so excited for all of you to get to know her and most of all, to hear what she's doing in our world to make a difference. So Elizabeth, are you on the line? Because I'd love to introduce you to Elizabeth Filippouli. Elizabeth, are you with me, my love?
Yes, I am, Holly, and I am absolutely delighted to join you today. Thank you, darling.
Oh, and may I just say, I'm going to brag on you for a minute. So, the beautiful thing about you that I love the moment I met you is you're just exquisite. You are brilliance and grace wrapped up. And when I got to know all that you've done and what you're doing, I was literally like in awe of you. I was like, really? You are amazing. And I just getting on this call so that everyone knows you are the founder and CEO of Global Thinkers and Global Thinkers Forum. So I'm going to hold off and let you tell us all about what that is. But I have to say, Elizabeth, you have just gotten back from, let's see, you were in Greece a few days ago. You're sitting in London now and you're getting ready to head to Dubai. So you keep a very busy life.
May I say, first of all, that I'm glad there is no camera here because I'm blushing. Well, Holly, thank you for such a kind introduction and coming from you, because you are a woman of success, inspiration, honesty, which is very important in life, and integrity. And I will add also enthusiasm, passion, and fun. So that combination is really hard to find. Oh. Having those wonderful words coming from someone like you makes me feel, truly honored. And thank you.
Oh, you know what? I'm sitting here in awe. Thank you, my love. But I had no idea that you made this about me for a minute. And this is all about celebrating you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, I would love for you to share all that you're doing. Let's start with what Global Thinkers and the forum is all about and how did it begin? And then we'll go back a few years into the journey behind it. But tell us all about what you're doing now.
Of course, although what I am doing now and Global Thinkers Forum is very much connected to my background and to my family's background. And I would say more to my father's professional background. So perhaps it would be a good idea to begin with saying a few things about me. And the fact that I was a journalist, or I am a recovering journalist.
Oh, I like that line.
That's the line. It's a profession which is more like a mission in our family, because it started, perhaps over 100 years ago. I come from a family of publishers and journalists, and my grandparents were the founders of one of the first dailies and most successful dailies in Greece.
Oh.
And my late father was among the most well-known journalists in Greece, someone who regarded journalism a mission for society, for justice, for helping people achieve their rights and making democracies even more efficient and really working for people. So the reason why I'm saying that is because I have been very affected, very influenced by those ideas the idea of always trying to create a better world, because it is not about today, it is not about present, it is about the future and the future generations. And so when I was working and a reporter for Greek media first, the Greek state television, and also daily newspapers, and then for CNN, as of 1999, when I became a CNN fellow and CNN's Athens-based correspondent, and then Al Jazeera English, where I worked for 3 years as a documentary presenter and producer, and I moved to Qatar, actually, in the Gulf, to join Al Jazeera English, which was just being launched. That was in 2005, as a member of the founding team. So throughout my career with media, I was having in my mind a vision, how I can create at some point in life an entity that could give back to society, that would take my career to another level, towards giving and towards creating good. And that's why I'm saying that before talking about what Global Thinkers Forum does and has been doing since its launch 4 years ago, I should explain the background. Another element which I think is important is to say that for the last 17 years, so ever since I became an international journalist, if you like, by joining CNN, I was very eager to travel the world and meet different cultures, people from diverse backgrounds, people who stand for different ideas and views, and be open to understand where they come from, what their arguments on the different topics are about, and try to give them a mic or an opportunity to project these views to the world. But at the same time, I have been forming a network, a truly exceptional network of international thought leaders, experts, decision makers, influencers, and I was building connections which eventually became friendships. And that network, Holly, and this is very much part of how Global Thinkers Forum became so successful and international so quickly, if you like. That network is connected by an element of trust, which is extremely important, by ideas around the world which unite us all. So we want a better world. We actively promote conversations of cross-cultural understanding, of better life for more people. And when we say better life, we mean more democratic societies, more opportunities for youth to progress, develop, more opportunities for women to be empowered to go after their dreams. And so building this network of those like-minded individuals, at some point, and that was in 2010, I started creating a concept that I felt would give to the world an element, or would try to contribute, if you like, to a world that needed and still needs, of course, more competent leaders, more accountable leaders. Because we live in a world which has become extremely complex, very interconnected, very interdependent, in every sense, politically, strategically, economically, socially, business-wise, and at the same time quite polarized. And so I felt that timing was right for an organization that would promote understanding, accountable leadership, the role of women in these very complex and very transforming and rapidly transforming societies, and opportunities for youth. And we launched 2 years later, in 2012, under the patronage of Her Majesty Queen Rania, in Jordan.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
I don't know. I don't want to monopolize here the conversation. I mean, I could keep talking and talking, but I wonder if you'd like to ask something.
Yeah, well, I would love to, but I think that what you just shared was the background and taking us from the history of your passion. And what listeners can gain from this is that you took something from your experience and your passion and you created the next opportunity to make an even bigger difference. And when you just slightly drop in there, Elizabeth, I think it'd be great for the listeners to know when you think about launching this in 2012, when it officially launched, and the people that are connected. I mean, and to think that under the patronage of the Queen of Jordan, when you think about the people that you are connected with and the magnitude of what Global Thinkers has done and the people that are a part of this, can you share with us some recent successes and some recent and maybe what you're getting ready to go do here in Dubai? Because it's amazing the worldwide global impact of the people that are coming together for this passion and this mission. I'd love to hear more about the people involved.
Of course. One of the things that we felt we needed to address, and I'm saying we because, of course, it's a network of leaders, as I mentioned before, and some exceptional board members from over 20 countries. So one of the elements and challenges that we felt we needed to address with Global Thinkers Forum is bring together into conversations 3 or 4 other very important stakeholders, social stakeholders. So the private sector and private companies, that is, in conversation with civil society, the public sector, and media. We did not want to create an organization that would seem to be either inaccessible or elitist. This is an organization where everyone who has an interesting story to share, that is a story that touches on social change or big ideas or big solutions for the challenges of today's world, they can join us and share their story, because we're looking for inspiring people. We're looking for interesting stories to bring to the world, and we're looking for more dialogue and for more conversations that will generate solutions for today's complex problems. So you asked me about recent successes. Well, within 4 years, Holly, we have achieved an established presence in 6 countries. So we are an organization that is London-based. We have had events in London, Amman in Jordan, Dubai in the Emirates, Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, Istanbul in Turkey, and Athens, Greece. And that is, of course, outside of other events or workshops and seminars that we do, and outside of our mentorship program, which is a very important program for us, and it is part of the youth development and women empowerment mission that we serve. And through this program, we have a presence, I think, in over 19 countries so far.
Wow. Think about what you've accomplished in such a short time. I mean, Elizabeth, really, if this is possible, it tells me that our world is so hungry to have a voice, and we're hungry to work together, right? For the common mission of social change. And I think what our listeners would love, what they're going to love from this is, and I think you and I had this conversation several months ago, at some point in our journey, wherever we've been together. But I would love for them to know, I mean, I think you're still, as far as what's going on in the United States, we still are looking for a much stronger presence here, right? For Global Thinkers?
Yes, indeed. And for us, the U.S. is extremely important, and we would like to expand the mission and the mandate and to welcome more people like you, Holly.
Oh.
I'll go back to what we said when we opened this conversation. You are an inspiration. You are, and I mean, globalization is what you are, what I am, and what many of your audience, many of your listeners are. People from diverse backgrounds, whose parents were born in different parts of the world, whose ancestors come from different religions sometimes, and different, they bring to the table different historical memories.
Yes.
And so that is, I think, extremely important if we want to talk about a world which is understanding and cares more about promoting development and progress. We need to talk about understanding and cross-cultural understanding. We need to talk about openness of mind, but also respect towards each other's differences,
yes.
Respect towards diversity, and understanding that all of us are having some luggage, emotional luggage, that again may come along from our parents or grandparents, and they relate to realities that they witnessed or that they survived. And all of us, one way or another, are right about something, are right about one argument or another. So it's not really about promoting polarization. Again, polarization is something, a very, very negative reality. It is more about finding peace and finding balance. And balance means that we need to understand that one way or another, we are interconnected, we are interdependent, and we become even more interdependent. So it's to our interest to promote this understanding and through that generate more development, but at the same time, more business. Yes. More markets for whatever we do commercially, for the private sector and for companies. More talent, again, for the private sector. Yes. More human capacity, which is the future. I mean, look at the economies, so many economies around the world, economies that are or have been so far oil dependent. And now with the fall in the oil prices, those economies need to completely transform and look for new ways of generating income. And sometimes the only way ahead, very often, the only way ahead is to take advantage of their people and to build on the human talent that they have, because that's their only possibility for progress and development.
I love the way you just referred to human talent. And you said something, Elizabeth, about 3 minutes ago that I don't want anyone to miss, because you actually opened up a piece of my heart that most likely most of the listeners out there that even know me and have known me for years would not even know this about me. But I just had an aha moment, because I am a child of a father and mother born in two different parts of the world that met, came together, fell in love. But because of how different their families are and were, they were disowned when they chose to get married. So when you really brought up how many of us out there, right, as just human beings have experienced that, wow, I never even thought about the magnitude of the emotional piece that has probably played a toll on in not just my life, my siblings, right? That's a whole story, Elizabeth. We could do that one on stage or on another show sometime, because most people don't know that, but you really just, enlightened me to something. And the other piece that I think you really brought an awareness to that I want people to, hopefully they don't miss this, is when we think about every person we get to interact with, no matter where they come from in this world, what we're really needing to do is open our eyes to you use the word understanding, trust, respect for diversity. And I think it's really quite simple. It's common sense, but it's not common practice, is it? I love those words. So I just had to pause, and I want everybody to really capture that. And I have to ask you this because I'm open and ready for a surprise, the element of surprise here. But when I think about your history of knowing going back 100 years and to grandparents that were a part of publishing and journalism and how much a part of your life this has been and where it's taken you today, is there a moment in your life, Elizabeth, that you could look back on, and maybe it was as a child, maybe it was at some point, a very pivotal moment. Maybe you faced a tremendous amount of adversity, even in the diversity part of this world. Maybe it was when you were in journalism and went over to Qatar. I don't know what that moment was, but is there something that you could share with the listeners that, was maybe the toughest place, but it was pivotal for you, that really gave you the strength to keep going?
My move to Qatar was not an easy decision. Or I should say, rather, it was not seen as an easy decision by, my audience in Greece, because in my home country, I'm a household name, as I've been a TV journalist for many years. So when the news broke and the news made the headlines in Greece that I was joining Al Jazeera English and moving to Qatar, people were very surprised because the Qatari society, the Arab Gulf, is a very conservative part of the world and a very conservative part of the Muslim world. And so they were all wondering, coming from a Western society as I am, how I would make this decision to completely change my reality and how I would be able, if you like, to live in this society, which is so different from the routine, the norms, the traditions, the culture that I had been brought up in Greece. For me, there was no second thought. Because again, I should say that through my travels and my background with CNN and with my international travels as a journalist, I had already been very attracted, very, very intrigued and very interested in this global diversity. And I always felt that I would not be able to understand the culture from the inside unless I live in this part of the world. Mm-hmm. And so that was not an easy one, because indeed it is a very different society. But I realized by living there that there are so many cliches, so many stereotypes. For example, for the women in the Arab world. Sometimes people ask me, "Oh, Elizabeth, you do those conferences on Arab women in business, for example, or Arab women leaders. Are there women in companies or running companies or owning companies in the Arab world? Or are they all, suppressed and covered and staying at home and raising kids?"
Yes.
And,
yes, like
no
we
one,
see.
everything, And for me, that is, of course, a joke, because I know the society, I know the culture, and I know so many absolutely amazing, highly successful women leaders in business, in politics, in society, in the arts, in culture, from the Arab world. And they are women who are actually the leaders of the family. They run family businesses that are worth billions of dollars.
Oh.
And people have no clue about that. And there is so much talent. There is so much progress. Of course, it is a different culture from, what you grew up in or what I grew up in, Holly. But this culture is also an identity. And it is very much a culture that stands for its own values and its own beliefs. And that these beliefs would not stop women from being pioneering, from being inspiring, from being trailblazers, and from being highly successful and much more successful than other parts of the world who are not familiar with the Arab world would think. So that was definitely an eye-opener for me, and a moment where I felt that we need to do more things, to promote this talent and success stories, to help more women in the Arab world, but not only in the Arab world, to become more empowered, and to promote women from all over the globe, the Arab world, Africa, Asia, the US, Europe, Latin America, that will be beacons of inspiration for everyone because of their success record, because of their commitment to create better societies, and at the same time being highly successful. Business women, entrepreneurs, academics, just name it.
Do you know how inspirational this moment is? I hope. Okay, so this is a moment that I personally don't want to miss. We have made so many assumptions sitting in our little bubbles, wherever we're sitting and listening to this. It doesn't matter where we are in the world, but I think you just opened our eyes, Elizabeth, to exactly your point, that we have so many assumptions and it's so different. And yet what we could learn from those stories, if any woman that is listening to this, I would just love for you to pause for a moment and think about all the luxuries that we have, all that we have been given, that we have at our fingertips. And when we think about women that are striving and thriving in other parts of this world, just like what you shared, Elizabeth, it should give us hope, right? Like we assume that we can't do things, but we have so much. I would love to know, and you had no idea I was going to ask you this. If you were to reflect on so many of these stories and so many of these women that you've met in the Arabian part of the world, all over the world, what would be the greatest takeaway or advice that you could share with all of us today that is maybe the most life altering for you, that you'd say, wow, right? That's the greatest wisdom or advice I can pass on and pay it forward.
The value of human connection. For me, for Global Thinkers Forum, but for me personally also, as Elizabeth, what is I would say is my greatest learning, and not only learning, but also something that I feel that I won in this life is the friendships of people from different parts in the world who come from, again, very diverse backgrounds and very different backgrounds to mine. And we've managed to put aside any such differences that could potentially separate us. And we have built on the human connection and the elements and values that unite us. And this human connection is what makes the soul, everyone's soul, because we are all human beings, Holly, at the end of the day. Life is not about money. Life is not about professional successes as much as it is for the personal success, for the self-purpose. Mm-hmm. So knowing that there are people out there that you love and you're loved by them, that you respect and appreciate, and you are being appreciated back and respected back, and you have this human connection, is what I have found as the most valuable thing that I've learned, and I keep very close to my heart as an, how shall I put it, personal asset, personal value,
yes,
or even personal mission. Now, something that I would like to say, because, all this perhaps to people who are not familiar with Global Thinkers Forum, they might say that, okay, all this sounds too idealistic. All this sounds like a vision, like a theory, like, something which is not real, or we don't really care about it because we are more focused on our businesses and our bottom line and our profit making part. Well, let me tell you this, that companies, who become more values based, who base their decision making on values and ethics, they are the most profitable companies. They do the leap from being a good company or a very good company to becoming a great company. And a great company is a company that cares for society, cares for the world, cares for universal values. And why it is a more profitable company? Because A, it engages its customers more by showing to them and proving to them that their only goal is not to create profits and money for their shareholders, but they care for all stakeholders. And also because their employees and their staff is much more inspired, much more engaged, and much more involved in performing better and working for a company, creating a company that will be exemplary on many levels, business and bottom line included. So that is not a soft skill. Creating a company that cares for the world and is values driven, it is reflected on the financial results. And here is my commercial hat, if you like.
I love it. I love it.
So it's something that I've learned from experience. It's something that I do because I help companies embrace a culture of values-based decision-making, a culture of social accountability, a culture of diversity. And I know firsthand the difference between a company that has been more of a profit-driven one to a company that eventually and gradually embraces those values and becomes more responsible, accountable, and relevant to society. It's a big difference to the financial results.
I 100% back, ditto, and agree wholeheartedly. And you having worked with so many global organizations and the global organizations that I've been privileged to partner with and collaborate with, Elizabeth, you can walk into a corporate headquarters. You can walk into a retail establishment. I can be in a ballroom in London with leaders from around the world. And do you know, you can feel the difference. You know when a company is truly living from the highest place of serving this world because it permeates and it trickles down. Even the employees feel it and know it. So I love the way you just articulated this. And as we wrap this up, what I want everyone to know is that please go to Elizabeth's website, and I will let her tell you how to learn more about her and the Global Thinkers and the Global Thinkers Forum, because I could tell you she is one of the most scholared and educated women I know in the world. It is a list of the places you have gone, the schools, the colleges, the Harvard Kennedy School of Government Executive Education program. I mean, the list goes on. So all that Elizabeth is doing, Elizabeth, I just respect you so much for all that you do in this world. And you come from, I love the saying, knowledge is power. And you come from such a place of having a lot of knowledge as well as a heart. So as we wrap this up, and I can't even thank you enough. Could you share with us two things? Number one, tell us, I'm excited about where you're going. I know you're back on a plane in a few days. So tell us where you're going and what you're doing there. And then let us know how people can learn more about you and about Global Thinkers.
Of course. So next trip is to the Emirates. I'm heading to Dubai and then Ras Al Khaimah, which is one of the 7 Emirates, to speak at the Young Arab Leaders Forum about leadership, values-based decision-making, and how to create more engaged companies and more engaged societies. So that's the next trip. And then about how to find more information about what we do, I would invite your listeners to visit globalthinkersforum.org and globalthinkers.com. And through the websites, I would love to hear from them, and I would invite them to send any ideas on partnerships, on speaking opportunities, perhaps in our fora, or any other ideas and thoughts that may like to contribute to us.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for giving of your time. And I know you're on a whirlwind travel schedule right now. So we will be watching. I'll be following you. I'll be staying close in touch. And thank you so much for serving our world in such a beautiful way. Thank you. Thank
you, Holly. Thank you very much for today. I really enjoyed the conversation with you.
Oh, love. Thank you, my love. Thank you for joining me for another awesome celebration of you. If you were inspired by this story, please share it with your family and friends and hashtag Your Story Matters. I'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment on iTunes. And absolutely, please come to my website, hollydowling.com. Leave a comment there too, and while you're there, pick up your free gift. Most importantly though, just remember that your life is a gift from God. What you do with it is your gift back.